Hello, my name is Henry Key and this is News Pulse at UATV. Welcome to the daily segment. Today in the episode. Tankers and boats in Azov and Black Seas. Financial Times nominate Ukrainian assault on Russian shadow fleet as the deadliest attack ever in the history of maritime. Thank you, FT. We take it as a badge of honor. Ukraine finds itself in the middle of a series of protests against decision to fire super popular Defense Minister Fedorov, which is obviously the confrontation between two models of governing the state, the old one and the new one. The whole thing, however, could end with even more absurd and drama. There is a legal way for Fedorov to still stand as an acting to himself. Stay tuned for the further development. Recent Ukraine-Southeastern European summit learned the results of the important high-level meeting in Kyiv. I think at this point it is already considered a sort of all-Ukrainian army challenge: hunt down Russian shadow fleet vessels. Ukrainian intelligence, naval drones also take part in the hunt, hitting Russia right where it hurt. Shadow fleet oil tankers, this time identified as Louise 1 and Banda. These are two oil tankers in the Black Sea that were successfully hit by two Ukrainian naval drones named Mamai. What is interesting is how Russians are attempting to put a large caliber machine gun on board to defend these shadow ships. It is illegal, of course, but okay, we are at war. In the first place, still, it does not help. 6 tankers and 2 tugboats were hit in the waters of the Black and Azov Seas just overnight. Financial Times confirms 115 Russian vessels over the course of just 9 days were hit in the Sea of Azov, making these series of strikes one of the most tense and severe in the history of maritime. Hit rate has been even higher than during the famous tanker war between Iran and Iraq in 1980s, and it seems that Ukraine is just getting started. It is almost like in the movies, right? I can already see Robert Madjar Brovdi coming out as an epic as Liam Neeson's Zeus in the Clash of the Titans remake and urges the Ukrainian Navy with "Release the Kraken." Explosions heard in the cities of Saratov and Engels on the night of 15th to 18th July during, oh my God, who would ever thought, Ukrainian drone attack. Again, this time Ukrainian UAVs struck a military airbase. And according to reports on social media, residents of Saratov and Engels said they had heard numerous explosions and seen a large number of drones coming right at them. Footage circulating on social media has the sound of drones indeed flying overhead them, and then explosions, including in the city of Engels. Telegram channels and Astra channel, just as well as many OSINT analytics confirms the Engels airbase has come under attack. Verkhovna Rada voted to appoint Serhiy Koretskyi, the former head of Naftogaz and Ukrnafta, as new Prime Minister of Ukraine. The key priorities that President Volodymyr Zelenskyy announced before Koretskyi's appointment are preparing the country for winter, protecting energy and fuel infrastructure, stabilizing the economic situation, and, of course, effectively managing international aid. The authorities expect the upcoming winter to be the most difficult in all the years of the war. Koretskyi's professional career is quite atypical for Ukrainian politics. He did not build it through the political parties or state institutions, but came from business directly, where he spent more than 20 years developing companies, optimizing processes, and managing large teams. It was his reputation as an effective crisis manager that may become the main reason why the president considered his candidacy for the position of head of the government. The main intrigue following the resignation of the cabinet of ministers of Ukraine remains around Mykhailo Fedorov, the former Ministry of Defense. Volodymyr Zelenskyy decided not to put Fedorov forward for the post of defense minister again as part of the government reshuffle. And after that, people started gathering outside Kyiv's Ivan Franko National Theatre, which is located near the presidential office, to protest the dismissal of defense minister Fedorov. Demonstrators are calling on President Volodymyr Zelenskyy to reverse his decision and keep Fedorov in office. Protests became national and people took it to streets in other Ukrainian cities. Zelenskyy said the decision followed a conflict between Fedorov and Ukrainian commander-in-chief Oleksandr Syrskyi. It's like the old model of state governing is fighting the new one. UATV will keep you posted on development.
I've known the president for 7 years. I don't think he's sided with Syrskyy yet. I spoke with him today and told him that I'm acting according to my conscience. I've been through a lot with him. Over the past 7 years as a member of his team, he has, in principle, never let me down, and I haven't let him down either. Now, there is a situation in which both he and I act, taking into account some of our own view of this world. This is okay. Mykhailo Fedorov, Acting Minister of Defense of Ukraine.
The United States has already begun the process of issuing licenses to Ukraine for production of missiles for Patriot systems. The Kyiv Independent reports on this, citing a high-ranking official. It is noted that the U.S. has moved the issue beyond the realm of political statements. As of now, the process is expected to move faster than anticipated a few months ago. Ukraine and the European Union have signed a historic agreement on drones, according to European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. The two sides have agreed to jointly produce drones and develop defense technologies. According to von der Leyen, this agreement will combine Ukraine's expertise in the development and use of drones with the U.S. strong industrial and technological base. Importantly, the UAVs will be manufactured and deployed throughout the European Union rather than in Ukraine. This will protect them from Russian attacks. The president of the European Commission also emphasized that Kyiv has in many ways already made the transition from being a buyer to a supplier of security systems for Europe.
I am delighted to launch together with you, Volodymyr, a new EU-Ukraine defense industrial partnership. What we are signing today is our very own drone deal. Over recent months, Ukraine has signed such drone deals with several countries from Europe to the Middle East. This recognizes the interest in Ukraine's battlefield experience, the knowledge you have gained on how to work drone and anti-drone systems is truly unique. From the technology and production of the drones to the supply chains needed to sustain the capacity, more crucially to the knowledge on using radar systems, ground stations, or sensors. We must tap into this together.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy called on European partners not to ease sanctions, pressure on Russia, and to support the adoption of the 21st EU sanctions package during the 5th Ukraine South and East Europe Summit in Kyiv. He emphasized the need to block Russia's ability to circumvent existing sanctions and to increase pressure on the sources of funding for Russian aggression. Together with representatives from countries in the region, the head of the state discussed humanitarian and financial support for Kyiv, as well as strengthening Ukraine's position in peace negotiations. More in our reportage for you.
European countries must cooperate at every level if they are to counter Russia's threats. That was the key message from Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy at the Ukraine Southeast Europe Summit in Kyiv. According to the president, Ukraine expects to begin producing missiles for key air defense systems by the end of the year. Political agreements have already been reached. These include separate deals with France and Italy to manufacture SAMP/T air defense systems, Scalp cruise missiles, and Aster interceptors. Kyiv has also secured approval to license the production of guided munitions for HIMARS, as well as an agreement with the United States to produce missiles for the Patriot air defense system.
By the end of 2026, we expect to gain the capability to manufacture these missiles ourselves, with Ukrainian specialists producing American-designed missiles here in Ukraine. We are working on Patriot licenses. We have already reached a political agreement.
Earlier, Slovenia's Minister of Foreign and European Affairs announced a $50 million contribution toward purchasing weapons for Ukraine under the PURL initiative. Ukraine is the only country in the world with real experience fighting this kind of war, and Ljubljana says it will continue helping Kyiv strengthen its negotiating position.
We all want this war to end, but we understand that Russia will only come to the negotiating table when it finds itself in a much weaker position than Ukraine. Today, I see many reasons for optimism. Our discussions were not limited to military capabilities or wartime issues. We also talked about Ukraine's recovery and reconstruction.
Serbian President Oleksandr Vučić, who also attended the summit, stressed that although Belgrade has not joined sanctions against Russia, this does not mean Serbia supports the Kremlin. He said Serbia is interested in expanding trade and logistics ties with Ukraine.
I would like to thank our hosts for their warm welcome and hospitality. Serbia supports the UN Charter and UN resolutions, which means we support Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity. We appreciate Kyiv's reciprocal position. Humanitarian assistance also remains important, both financial support and assistance in the energy sector. I am not yet fully satisfied because we have not delivered everything we promised, but we intend to fulfill those commitments as quickly as possible.
Representatives of Moldova, North Macedonia, Albania, and Montenegro, all countries negotiating EU membership, agreed to coordinate their European integration efforts more closely. Croatian Prime Minister Andrej Plenković said Ukraine has already made significant progress on its path toward EU membership, and that Zagreb will continue supporting Kyiv's accession.
Croatia and Ukraine signed a bilateral agreement in December to support Ukraine's accession to the European Union. Political conditions now allow negotiations on the various accession clusters to move forward. We believe the integration process can accelerate, provided the merit-based approach is maintained, so that countries that are ready to join the European Union can do so.
The Croatian Prime Minister also highlighted growing interest among his country's private defense industry in Ukraine's drone technologies. Croatia has already joined the International Drone Coalition. Romanian President Nicolae Dan likewise stressed the importance of defense cooperation with Ukraine. In March, Kyiv and Bucharest signed an agreement on the joint production of military drones. According to the Romanian leader, Ukraine's experience in countering Russian aggression offers valuable lessons for strengthening regional security.
Romania is a sovereign country and will not yield to intimidation. At every international forum we attended last week, whether the NATO summit or the Coalition of the Willing, we reaffirmed that Russia is the aggressor. As a result of this war, Ukraine has developed advanced military technologies. Through our partnership with Ukraine and the trust we have built together, we want to strengthen our own defense capabilities.
At the conclusion of the summit, representatives of Ukraine, Albania, Greece, Moldova, Romania, Croatia, Slovenia, North Macedonia, Montenegro, and Bulgaria signed a joint declaration. The participating countries condemned Russia's aggression and its attacks against civilians. They pledged to strengthen Ukraine's defense capabilities through international cooperation, increase pressure on Russia, and continue supporting Ukraine's path toward European Union membership. Reported by Andriy Dmitrenko, UATV News.
That's it for today. I'm Henry Keane. Thank you so very much for watching the segment. We appreciate your time and effort a lot. Please also share, comment, subscribe to UATV. We've got you covered on whatever tomorrow holds every day as usual. For all of us, always in Ukrainian perspective. So stay safe and see you tomorrow.